Alright, What a Wild Spirit Brings by Lil, Chapter 13. Mitten took her to eat some steak with corn and peas for luncheon. She wanted the day to be over so she could go tell Blacksien the good news. She was dying to find out more about her cousin, but Mitten was busy doing Haldani things. She was trying so hard not to think of Demeen at all, and not successfully. She was hurt that Demeen really was so angry with her. She had thought they had bonded more than that. And were they lovers? How could she find out? Where were they now? She stood up and walked to the cells for the understudies. On the way, she heard a Haldani getting onto a girl in a whitewashed hallway. She was glad she did. "You are a study! Act like it! An understudy would do such a—" Lil now knew the title of girls with hems. Understudy was beneath study, which was beneath the Haldani, who were under the power. Were the head of the colors a rank as well, somewhere between Haldani and power? She walked slowly up the pale stairs, all the way up to Demeen's floor. Her plan was to ask her. She decided boldness was the best approach. On the way up the last step, though, she found an almost empty hall. Janice was kissing Demeen, or Demeen was kissing her. They were kissing. Light. They really were lovers, and she felt so much emotion overwhelming her all at once. Janice suddenly jerked her head away, seeing her. As soon as Demeen looked to see who it was, Lil's face became the calm that Haldani always wore, and she turned and walked away. She walked and walked, feeling nothing, doing nothing but walking. Not thinking, barely breathing. She walked some time aimlessly, and without seeing anything, she passed until she came to the library. As soon as she realized where she was, with all the books, she started weeping. No one was there, so she grabbed up the first book she found with her tears and ran to a chair near a fireplace. She hugged the book to her chest and curled up in the chair and cried until she cried herself to sleep. She almost immediately was in the Court of Hedges, and leapt up and flew almost in the ceiling of the white library. She looked around and found that instead of books it was filled with light in horizontal rows, like bars of light on shelves. She quickly ran out of the building. There were far fewer people, shadows now, because it was day, she realized. That was good. She flew once outside the fortress and flew to the window she had left by the night before. She ran to the king's room and found no one there. Damn! She sat down and waited at the chair next to the bed for Blacksien. The ornate design of every gold-glazed piece of furniture felt like a glaring slap as she sat there, cross-legged on the floor. Did she deserve to feel so betrayed by Demeen? Did the king deserve to live in the lap of luxury while the people starved? Did the poor carvings and embroidery have to glint with metallic glint just because someone felt it should, all be covered up by a thick coat of gold? Was gold even pretty? Was anything worth that work? She realized her thoughts were making as little sense as they were not comforting her, but she still felt awful. She wanted to cry, but Demeen was not worthy of the tears, if so easily in love, so quick to toss girls aside. It was all just like the furniture, ordinary things masked by finer things, making the normal things still normal underneath. There was no escape from the truth. She had only pretended. A noble girl could want someone as lowly as herself. But the noble was only dipped in gold, and her allure was only so deep. Before Demeen was just plain old furniture, like everyone else. And was Mornay going to be the same? Some rich royal-blooded woman with a mask? Yet another person filled with quick disregard. Someone who threw people away as garbage once their usefulness had expired? She had waited some time, brooding over her pain and rejection and frustration with Demeen and Mornay. When someone finally came, it was a spirit. The spirit was contrite and gray. It was shaking as if scared. The spirit didn't seem to notice her and stood facing the door, still shaking. Soon after, the door opened to reveal the king blob. It engulfed the other spirit, and the other spirit cried and cried while the blob shook and moaned. Lil wanted to scream, to run, anything to get out of the room. He was raping some poor girl. As soon as he finished, the gray spirit left, still crying. The blob remained on the bed. She wanted to kill it. She wanted to attack, but knew she had to wait. He would get his soon. Finally, Blacksien came in. She was shocked to see Lil there already. "Little brave one, how did you get here before me? The guards just now left." "I was here before the king came. Like Blacksien, he raped someone." The wild one's face grew hard. "Never come here early again. It is dangerous, and if his spirit would have noticed you—" "You don't care that he raped someone? And how? If his spirit is here asleep?" "He uses forbidden medicines that cause the mind to sleep and the user remains awake. He forces his way with the use of it. Many of his soldiers use it, and he forces all of his harem to take it, and their children." "Light! It is one of his great evils. He has so many reasons to deserve death, it is pathetic. And he will! The power has said the day after next she will have him drawn out to Fife Wood. He will have a guard around him, but he will be alone in the middle. I sleep in trees a lot. If Ginger can fade into the shadows in the branches of a tree over where he will be, the news you bring is good. Yes, very good. The war and this tyrant will soon be done, Lil exclaimed and spit at the blob. Are his medicines why you can sit here with him and he does not mind? Yes, but you must go, and I will go tell Tindra. Oh, yes, of course. And she spoke well of you. When I spoke to her of our meeting and what you said to tell her, she is proud to call you clan sister. I am proud to call her the same. They smiled and nodded, honoring each other, spoke of allies and water, and then parted ways. She looked back in time to see the wild one boring into the floor like a mole does into the ground. So that was her way of leaving the court. She flew back to the library, a much easier target than than wandering south. She hurried into the court, thrilled that the plan was in motion. Finally, things would start getting better. She awakened to Mitten yelling at a blue-stoned Haldani to fix something. She sat up and Mitten rushed to her, putting her hand to her forehead and looking her over. She was worried. Mitten Haldani, what's wrong? You wouldn't wake up. I said your name. I shook you. I even slapped you. You were in a sleeping trance. I couldn't wake you up. I didn't know what to do. The woman was starting to tear up, and then suddenly she became calm, brushed her hands on her skirt, and stood looking angry. What happened? I cannot tell you here, friend, Lil whispered. Mitten seemed to realize they were far from alone, with 2 blues, 2 reds, a yellow, and 3 whites in the room, besides some servants and understudies. She was calm as she picked up the book from Lil and led her out of the room by the hand and to a room in the building next door on the right. Inside, the walls were red. This building was near the training yards and the archery range on the other side, and Lil realized that each color must have its own housing for Haldani of that color. The whites were probably on the other side of the library. Lil was led to a door with a rose on it. Inside it was clean, and the colors were gold, brown, red, and orange. It looked like the whole room was ablaze. There was a table with papers and 2 books all placed precisely, and the bed was made perfectly. No wrinkles. Everything else was put away out of sight, in dressers, a closet, and shelves with doors. My room. Now what happened, Lil? Her worry was back, and her anger. I'm sorry. I was upset, so I went to the library. I cried myself to sleep, and then well, I have a talent, if you will. I mentioned it before. Mitten opened her mouth to shout something, and then her face grew pale and her eyes wide. She backed away from Lil 2 steps, shaking her head and wringing her hands. It is not so bad, the Wilder, once you understand it. Not so bad? It is the Wilder! Light child, you must promise to never go there again, ever. You are of the pure line. Nothing can happen to you. I cannot do that. I and the Power have an arrangement, and I am under training by a wild one. The Power? For the first time I want to wring that woman's neck, letting you, of all people, go there. I am with Blaxian. It is all right, really. Blaxian? Who is she? Mitten asked suddenly, looking concerned in an almost jealous fashion. My teacher and my contact to Tindra, my clan sister, my clan head, until I learn the way of the Wilder. Girl, I can tell you prefer women to men. It is rude, but I must know who you are betting. You are of the Andry royal line, and therefore my concern whether Mornay ever does anything with you or not. Lil blushed. Then she felt the tears welling up. Did she prefer women? She had never been with one. To mean. I have no lover. I am alone. Mitten studied her as if she didn't believe her. Lil didn't care. She was sick of people. She was sick of feeling. Pain was overwhelming her again. She was a woman's woman. She did want a woman. She wanted Demeen to kiss her. Is that why it was that she was drawn to her that day in the woods? Was that why they had bonded? Light. You loved her, didn't you, but she did not return your affection? Demeen? Lil started sobbing, and Mitten let her. Lil just wanted the day to be done. The plan was in motion, and maybe if she slept, when she woke up everything else would be gone. She wished her mother were here. She wished Tindra were here. She thanked the light that at least Mitten was. Mitten did not hold her. Lil just cried on her bed, and the Haldani waited patiently. She had never thought about preferring women before. She hadn't considered the real reasons why she didn't want to marry Durand Taub. Might have had to do with his being male. She had always felt different, but just never come to face with the truth until now.